All right. Hello, everybody, and happy Thursday. Today, what we are going to be talking about is we're going to be talking about how to build business credit, and more specifically, we are going to be looking at your business entity. So what we're going to be using, if you can see my screen right now, what we are going to be using to walk you through this process is a software that we use and that we have created to help folks build business credit. Now, of course, if you need any more information on business credit, business finance, you can go over to wiseguysandties.com, where we have all sorts of resources for you to take advantage of. Now, as we dive into this, I'm going to go into where I build my business credit. And the great thing about having a system is when you have multiple businesses or even just a business and you're busy with life, having a system that you can plug your stuff into and walk you step by step so you can keep track, it is highly useful and effective. So this business here, as we start the process of building business credit, now over the last few weeks, we've been going through the steps of really establishing credibility. We've covered business name, we've covered business address, and I wanted to spend some time today on step 1.3 and really dive into your business entity. What is it that you actually need to do as a business entity? And as we look into our builder program here, talk about trainings that we have in the system, and here's a training on the SBA, but also what type of entity really should you have? We ask our folks kind of, what industry are you in? First off, what type of business do you have? Do you have a corporation? So there's S corps and there's C corps. And you might be wondering yourself, well, what's the difference? Well, the difference is the quickest way to really kind of look at it is a C corp is a big, large corporation, and an S corp is a small one. So really think of the S as more of like a small business. S corps typically a lot of times start out as LLCs. Many times, depending on the state that you live in, but most of the time, LLCs can file as S corps. It just depends on how much revenue you've actually brought in that year. My CPA likes to look at the number of about 45,000. So really there's a lot of tax advantages of filing for an S Corp versus a LLC. Now, of course, I always recommend you seek competent legal professionals to help you out with this, because when you do move into the S Corp, there's a little bit different things that need to be taking place. Also, how you're paying yourself. Are you going to actually need to give yourself a W-2? There's several things like that. Now, C corporations don't have a whole lot of experience with C corporations yet. Those do require even more filings and accounting, and we just aren't there yet. So even though we have several millions of dollars in real estate and companies are doing six figures a year, it's interesting to see when folks are setting up C corporations for their brand new business. It's very interesting, and this is maybe their first business. They're really diving into it. Many times on YouTube or different trainings that you can come across, I see a lot of promotion for, say, Wyoming C corporations. Um, I strongly encourage you to throw around some ideas with us if you're going to go down that path, because I'm going to want to ask you really why and what your goals are, and if you're really sure as to what the requirements are to keep that corporate veil in the proper protection. Just because it's cheap to set up and maybe there's some tax advantages from what you've heard, there's a lot of other things that will be required in order to keep that business in the right structure. So what else could you have? You could have a partnership, you could have a sole proprietorship, or a nonprofit. All of these could actually build business credit, and should. If you ever plan on borrowing funds, if you ever plan on needing any business credit cards, loans, or anything for expansion, you're going to want to have your business credit built. Also, how long you've been incorporated. So really figuring this out quickly and getting incorporated. There's a factor to a lot of lending, which is just time and business. And the sooner you get started, the sooner your business starts to age. This is very important as well, because the longer your business has been around, the more lending that gets opened up to you. So if you're thinking about starting a business, I'd say go ahead and, if you've been thinking about it for quite some time, you want to go ahead and get jumped in. You want to get started, but you also don't want to rush. Now, the reason I say if you've been thinking about it for some time, that means you probably have already done a lot of work, and maybe it's fear that is keeping you from moving forward. This is what I really love about what we do, is because I've been there. I've been in that beginning stage of wanting to start a business, and then all of a sudden, um, I start to tell a couple folks, some friends and family, the people that love me the most and the people that, I trust their opinion. And I'm like, hey, I've been looking into doing this. And a lot of times, especially the ones that are the closest to us, they're like, well, that sounds good, but it also seems a little bit risky. I want you to understand that the people that love you the most are also going to be the people that want to keep you where you are. Not that there's anything that they are doing wrong. You have to realize when your family pushes back, you have an uncle that says, no, that's too, that's this or that, whatever however it comes across, whether it comes across as negative or positive, a lot of it comes down to they they are comfortable with where you are, and they don't want to see you get hurt. And so they know that starting a business is scary. They will talk about investing in real estate, and oh man, you don't want rental properties because, oh, the woes of rental properties. Even though they've never had any themselves, they've heard the stories. And that is their inner fears that they are projecting onto you. So I want you to be encouraged by the fact that the people that love you the most are going to be the people that push back the most. But it's not because they don't want you to succeed. It's because they actually care so much about you that they don't want to see you get hurt. Now, and this is typical with all business owners, and the key is when your close circle of support is not always going to be your best support system, or when you start to venture out and say want to create a new business and want to create new financial goals and want to achieve more for yourself, the folks that you've been with can be actually working against you, but not on purpose. So it's very important to understand to not be upset with them, to not be angry with them. That as you go through this process of starting your business, you're going to get kickback. You're going to get other people who are uncomfortable with what you're doing. And so with that being said, the important aspect to that is making sure that you are plugging in to us on YouTube. You're plugging into other people on YouTube. It's I'm not going to say, hey, just watch us. No, no, no. I want the best for you and your business. Plug in with people who are in your industry professionals, but also, really utilize services and go all in. Our service, what we offer folks, is how to help you get your business started. We're the people that have already kind of gone through this several times. I mean, every day, we're helping other businesses get started. New business owners take that first step. We have built a system that is all about support and accountability, because we know how scary it is, especially when you first venture into it. That's why folks that already have established businesses work with us, but also brand new businesses that, hey, let's get you started right off the right foot. And this is what we do every single week on Thursday. We're going through these trainings. We're talking about your corporation today, and we're going to dive back into that and talk more about really your business structure. But that's why we want you to make sure you have a good business name and business address before you even file. So we have 30-minute consultations that we always encourage you to jump on and throw around some ideas and really utilize us for that. We're going to talk about our services, but it's not something that most of the call is actually going to be directed to you. It's going to be really helping you craft your thoughts, your vision, and your idea. And then a lot of people, they say, hey, Ray, in the comments, they're like, yeah, right, 30-minute consultation just to hear your pitch on whatever. Yes, I'm going to be fully honest. We have services, and I can't help you if you don't know about my services. But the other thing is too, I can't help you if I don't know what you actually are doing. And if there's any way that I can provide value, and maybe that's working with us, but maybe you're not there yet. Maybe where you need to be is working with, this attorney first or this CPA first. And so I'll say, hey, look, I know somebody that I trust. I'm not going to get a kickback or anything. I build relationship capital. My business is heavily fueled by relationship capital. The world of business, you're going to understand that your net worth is your network. If you haven't heard that before, the people that you know, the people that you help, the people that you influence, it's not always direct money exchange. If I help you get started, will you come back and, be a client or need loans in the future? Absolutely. I'm not worried about that. I know if I help you, we're going to do business together. And so I want you to feel comfortable about, hey, I've been thinking about your 30-minute consultation, Ray, but I'm just, I've been through other ones in the past. I want you to know that ours is different. And all it is fear. It's fear associated with, moving forward. It's fear associated with, maybe the kickback that you've been receiving from family or friends, or that, maybe the current state of the economy is, creating some uncertainty. You're like, is this the right time to start a business? Well, let's talk about it. Let's figure out if it is, because I'll tell you what, right now, what is happening in our economy is something that you have never experienced before. Right now, that there's some sickness that everybody's kind of dealing with, but there's also, we're in an election year, but we are also at the end of a 11-year bull market in the stock market. This is literally, there's a trifecta of things taking place that has never been seen before. So this creates a lot of uncertainty, a lot of fear. But you have to understand that literally the most wealth is created out of economies when they are at their lowest or they are uncertain. So if you're thinking about building a business right now is the time when you should move, because right now funds are available. In a year from now, I'm not saying anything, the economy is going to crash or anything. I just don't know. But if that were to take place and lending gets tight, will you be ready for when that takes place? I encourage you to get started now and get going on your business, regardless if you're working with us or not. I want you to get going. I want you to pursue your dreams and your passions, because waiting only prolongs, and we don't want that to happen. So let's get back into what we actually were talking about today, and that's your business entity. So let's journey back real quick and go back to the first two steps that we've been covering the last 2 weeks. So in the business credibility, now our system is built into one of 7 steps to really break it down easy. But you have to build your foundation of your business. You have to get your business name, you have to get your business address, your business entity, your EIN number, your phone listing, your 411 listing, your website, your email, your business license, your bank account, your merchant account. You have to get all of that set up the right way before you really want to move forward. Or if you're already making business and doing good stuff, it just takes extra time to go back and correct it. So regardless, if you're already having money making skills in place, now let's spend some time and correct it so you can keep moving forward. Or you're about to start a business, let's make sure you do it right so you don't have to go back in the future and correct these issues. You can touch base on the other 2 live trainings that we've done from the last 2 Thursdays on business name and business address. Today, like I said, we're going through business entity, talking about, S Corps, C Corps, LLCs, nonprofits, sole proprietorships. Now, in the world of business credit, to really build your business credit, you're going to need to have some type of legal entity. So sole proprietorships, partnerships, those typically will always have to have somebody personally liable for the debt. Even if you're building some accounts for a trust, those are going to have to require some type of personal guarantee, somebody who is connected through their personal entity. Now, LLCs, nonprofits, S corps, C corps, 503, 503 Cs, and other 506 506Bs. I mean, there's all sorts of different structures. There's for-profits, there's nonprofits, there's private placement memorandums. But I strongly encourage you to get educated on which type of entity is going to work best for your field. Now, like I said, I'm not a CPA, I'm not an attorney, but we have those on our team. And when you talk to us on the phone and you get on the consultation, I'm going to just pretty much give you what I know as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, what I have personally experienced, and then say, hey, this source here helped me really figure out which business entity was right for me. You know, my CPA, he puts on amazing trainings, amazing trainings that I could get you plugged into, where he talks about, hey, what are you trying to do here? Are you a trucking company? Are you a real estate company? Do you have rental properties versus fix and flips? Do you have, what is the whole process that you're actually trying to do? Are you in logistics? Are you in retail? What type of business can we actually get set up for you and make sure it's structured the right way? And as you go through our business builder here, let's see, on your business entity documents, are the business address and ownership correct? So one big thing is when you're actually filing your documents, you got to double check. Human error always happens. And that's just one thing that we always have to be careful for. So I always strongly encourage you when you're reading business name, address, things of that nature, you actually go backwards. I will trace it with my finger backwards because our minds make little shortcuts that we can skip over issues that we may see. I've literally done this. We have literally spent one of our businesses that we set up, I believe the legal structure after everything was just about $5,000. Now we're talking, that's just to get the business set up with an attorney. The reason is there's a lot of self-directed IRAs, there's self-directed IRA LLCs, there's other companies, there's a total of 7 companies that are involved in this partnership and this partnership LLC. But and it's a long-term company too. It's a rental company. And so when you're going through something like that, you spend a lot of time actually diving into the whole, you know, death, divorce, disassociation, and I always want to say dismemberment, departure. That's the other D. So the 4 Ds, you got to kind of go through all those aspects of, you know, who you're going into business with, which is very important because, you know, when you have that many people into a business and then you never know whose life is at what stage. So, you know, somebody else out, one of our partners, you know, they are in a relationship, and then what happens if something happens in that relationship? People face illness, and so we're actually kind of going through that now. One of our partners, you know, they're struggling with a lot of personal issues, and so they're just like, hey, I'm in a financial situation, I'm in a hardship situation, I'm in this difficult situation with my family right now, and I'm actually going to need to sell my portion of the company. We're like, yeah, well, you know, it's unfortunate that, you know, we understand what's happening, you know, and we're sorry that that's happening in your life, but the great thing is we've already gone through the process. We know exactly what needs to take place when this happens. We refer back to our operating agreement on our buy and sell provisions, and we're like, hey, okay, this is where we start. First right of refusal goes to the current business owners, and then we can proceed from there. So we have everything already outlined. And that's the benefit of really working with an attorney to get your business set up. I got a fantastic one that I can always, you know, connect you with, who really specializes in small businesses and real estate. But he works with a lot of our industries that really utilize business credit heavily, you know, logistics, trucking, fitness franchising. There's a whole lot of different companies that utilize business credits to the max, short-term rentals. So is your business address the same state as your entity is filed? This is a powerful question here because I actually was making a video on this the other day where I was talking about the Wyoming, and I don't mean to pick on Wyoming today. I don't know what it is, but the Wyoming C Corporation. There's a whole lot of benefits to there, and it's very inexpensive. It is probably the most cost effective, the best protection in the entire state. And so when you Google, hey, which business entity should I set up? Well, somebody's going to say, this is what you want to do. You want to go over here and set up the Wyoming C Corporation. This is where things get a little tricky. So we have people, and we talk about getting your business set up the right way. And so I have a client, and she has been working with us, and we've talked about these things. But still, she calls me up and she's like, Ray, nobody's getting me, and I just can't get any of these net 30 accounts set up. And I'm like, well, what's going on? Like, we've been working at this, and I've seen the company profile, and I've seen everything. We made sure the office and everything is set up. So I'm like, okay, you got this Wyoming C Corporation. The office is located there. Everything looks like it matches. The address on the website is matching. You got the email address. You got the business license. Everything looks correct. Why on earth are you not getting approved? And I just couldn't straight figure it out. And I'm like, look, I get on the phone with you and let's work on this Home Depot account, and let's see about placing this order, because you should be able to get approved for this account. And for some reason, they're not approving you, and they're not approving any of your orders. So I get on the phone with her, and we're calling up and we're talking to the credit department. And then as we're going through this, they're like, okay, we can send the order out. And then she's like, well, no, I need you to send it to a different address. And then I'm like, well, why are you? Well, yeah, just have them send it to the office, your virtual office. Have them send it to the office that you have set up. And yeah, maybe you don't have an actual office there, but there's a receptionist there. They receive the mail, they receive the packages, and then just go pick it up when you're trying to actually shift to a different address. And I was like, well, silly, silly client, you're trying to actually ship out of state. I was like, you're going to have to get it set up first. I mean, like, you do have, like, you're down the street, right? You're not too far away from this. Well, no, I live in Nevada. I'm like, how come you have never actually told me that? Everything on our documentation says Wyoming. Everything that we have for you is Wyoming. And your phone number is Wyoming. When did you move to Nevada? Well, I've always lived in Nevada. I've actually never been to Wyoming. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, and then so I'm like, no wonder, because what you're doing is you're saying you're in business in Wyoming. You're projecting all these things in Wyoming, but you actually have never even been to Wyoming. You don't live in Wyoming, and you're trying to open up accounts and have them shipped across the country to a personal residence that is in Nevada. First off, Nevada has some amazing benefits to starting a company in Nevada. There's so many people that put businesses in Nevada for other benefits. And I'm like, wait a second, you already live in a state that has really great benefits to business owners. Why did you go to Wyoming? Well, I saw this guy and he told me that the best way to do this was to set it up because it was super cheap. And I'm like, well, it's going to cost you a whole lot of money, because the fact is you're trying to grow these accounts. You've invested into an office. You've invested into this. You've invested into all these things. And now you're going to run into a struggle where these accounts are going to require you to have active purchases for over a year before they actually approve you for a credit line. I was like, you might as well just cut your losses right now. You could sell that off, and let's start one up with where you are, because they only spend about, I think, $100 to file everything, but then of course they're pumping in hundreds and hundreds of dollars to building a credible business. But if you can't ship it to where you're located, then that's going to be a big problem. And so this was one of those things that's been on my mind lately, and I really wanted to bring it to you guys today because I feel like this is going to help you and provide value for you. Now, the next thing you need to do is, before you come up with, what type of business entity, you're going to want to search the Secretary of State records. And, you're also going to be doing this search in the first stage when you actually are looking for your business name. But it might be one of those things that your business entity idea changed, your location changed. And so we'll need to go through and verify once again. So if you're in Arizona and you're looking at starting an LLC or a corporation of some type, then it'll take you exactly to where you need to go. And this is another benefit to our system. Your state may have a corporation commission. Your state may only have the Secretary of State that they deal with. For example, Arizona has the Secretary of State and the Arizona Corporation Commission. Everything actually needs to run through the Corporation Commission first. And if you didn't quite understand that, then you might be running into struggle when you're actually searching and trying to move through the Secretary of State. And so when you're on the Arizona Corporation Commission, you can search for what your business name is. So let's say that I wanted to start a business called like Betty, um, Betty Cleaning. Let's say I wanted to start a company that was called Betty Cleaning. Let me zoom this in so you guys can actually see this. So then I would say contains, and I would see if anybody else is using that business name, because when it comes time to actually applying for accounts, you don't want to have anybody that you could be conflicted with, because that can create issues down the line as far as pulling things onto your business credit that aren't actually yours. So let's see, Betty Cleaning. I'm going to search for this and bam, I literally just pulled it out of my head, Betty Cleaning Services, LLC. And this is in Arizona, and then we can see, oh, the status is active. So this might be one of those things. Well, now I want to think about possibly changing it a little bit more than just Betty Cleaning LLC. I mean, that is a little bit of a difference, but it'd be one of those things I want to think about. I would seriously consider possibly looking at a slightly different name change. But, you know, it might be that case where you're just going to have to work with it. The other benefit to when you do set up an entity, you can always do what's called a DBA. So doing business as, so whatever entity you actually set up, if it's a LLC, that could be, you know, Betty Enterprises in this case, and then it could be, you know, Betty's Cleaning that you're doing business as. So Betty Enterprises, DBA, doing business as Betty Cleaning. So those are always some little workarounds as well. Restricted industries, you always want to be careful about not getting yourself stuck into one industry, because if you do Betty's Cleaning, that's always going to be cleaning. But if you want to do Betty's Enterprises, you know, you may start Betty's Power Washing. You may start, you know, Betty's Carpet Service. You don't get stuck into one area, which is really good. Now, so there's other sites. So we have a couple of resources here. And for example, on this page, there's a site called My Corporation. So this is basically, it's an online service that can help you set up businesses. And it's one of those things that just depending on where you are, I always use somebody physical, an attorney that has some type of connection reputation, but some of us are do-it-the-selfers. I just want you to be sure that, you know, using other services like LegalZoom, My Corporation, things like that, you got to just remember that sometimes saving a little bit in the beginning can cost you a lot down the line. So I only say this because spending $600 through My Corporation versus $800 to actually throw around ideas with an attorney, that $200 is going to actually give you a far greater return. So I just encourage you to actually seek out competent legal professionals. And even though as entrepreneurs, we have a tendency to want to do it ourselves, you're going to have to learn to start delegating. I tried to do the accounting. I'm terrible at accounting. So that's why I have an accountant and I have a CPA. I don't just have an accountant that handles the bookkeeping, because I need somebody better than a bookkeeper who can forensically look at my accounting and say, hey, this and this, and strategize on where they go, and then move that to the CPA. So there's a big chain of events that takes place there. I know I'm not good at that. I'm not an attorney. I should not be doing my legal setup and structure. Um, there were some folks the other day that we were working with and we are talking to, and I was talking about like, hey, yeah, your situation, I would totally like. You should talk to my buddy Mark Kohler. So if you're familiar with a gentleman named Mark Kohler, go ahead and Google him, YouTube him. Mark Kohler is a good buddy of mine. He has helped me out tremendously on all of our businesses. He's not only I not only work with his law firm, but is also a CPA firm, and so he was telling me like, oh yeah, I already know all this stuff, Ray. And I was like, okay, well let me just see if there's any way I can help you get to where you're going. And then I'm like, oh wow, dude, you have like a C corporation. I was like, but right here on the corporation commission, like you're in a bad situation. Like you haven't even done your filings for the last 3 years. I was like, do you understand that when you don't keep the corporate veil up to par, that if any type of legal action takes place, it does not take a genius attorney to pierce that corporate veil. If you have not done the steps to make sure that your company is properly protected, yeah, go out there and file it yourself. But if you're not doing what you need to do on an annual basis, on a quarterly basis, on a even on a monthly basis, if something happens, the reason we set up legal entities is for protection. Protection, 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 asset protection, liability protection, tax savings and benefits. And if it is not done right, it can easily be pierced. And that is something you do not want to happen. And that is going to be a costly learning experience. So if you haven't heard about really making sure that your corporate veil is protected, make sure it is, guys. Make sure it is, if I can tell you anything. But hey, I've actually gone a little bit over our time today. I just wanted to spend some of this time to really chat with you about legal corporations and setups of entities and just some of my thoughts that are coming out today as we move through the process. Now, come back next week because we're going to be going over your EIN number filings and all that stuff and what is your EIN. Now, how do you actually get signed up for this? If you're viewing this live on YouTube, you can actually go over to wiseguysandties.com, and right here you'll see this, the events tab. You can click on the events tab, and this is all of our online webinars. So this one here is Thursdays, 12 to 12:30 Pacific Standard Time. We talk about how to build your business credit. Every Tuesday, from 12 to 12:30. We're talking about the direct funding, one of 27 different ways on how you can gain access today for your business. And then we have every Tuesday night, 6 to 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Credit Banking Mastermind, how to beat the bank at its own game. If you could count cards, how successful would you be in playing blackjack against a casino? We literally show you how to count the cards against the bank, stack it in your favor so you can walk away from the table a winner. My name is Ray Fleming. I'm one of the co-founders of Wise Guys and Ties. My other partner, Joseph Smith, he couldn't be on the call today, but I want to say, go out there, build your business, build your dreams, and let the Wise Guys and Ties help you. You can always reach us at going to wiseguysandties.com and schedule with us. That cool thing is you get to just pick the time that works for you. You want to talk with us tomorrow? These are times that we got available. They're filling up fast, so make sure you're on there. But other than that, have a wonderful Thursday. Have a great afternoon, good night, and God bless.